From Studio 1A in Tampa, Florida, comes a talk show that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Allen.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, for the people is there.
Hello, Mr. and Mrs. America. I am Keith Allen, and proudly welcoming you to this Wednesday, middle of the week Wednesday, October the 11th, 2017's edition of For the People. We have a packed show for you, and we're so pleased to be on your radio. If you're new to For the People, welcome. We'd like to say that this is a daily infusion of common sense. We mix headlines in with what's going on, and we bring our 2 cents to the table with conservative ideas. Okay, conservative ideas, family friendly. You never have to really be embarrassed to turn on the radio next to your kids. Common sense. It's tough to find. So if you find something that you like to say, share it. Thank the local radio station for carrying the broadcast, because without them, there would not be any For the People. So we thank all our affiliates across the country that daily pick up the show. And good way of keeping us on there is thanking the station, do business with the sponsors. So anyway, thank you for all the board ops, too, across the country. Engineers, I think they're called engineers. We don't just call them board ops. They're engineers, producers, if you will. They bring the commercials, the news, and a very important part of the broadcast, too. So thanks. I used to do that back in the day. That's how I kind of started in radio back in the 80s, back in 86 at WMCA. I used to produce for Mario Cuomo and Ed Koch and kind of learn the process of radio. And I do it all myself. Got the control room where I'm running my mouth, running the controls, and making sure that everything's doing what it's supposed to do. And usually it just because of computers, you just have to make sure it's doing what you think the computer is supposed to do, because they're not perfect. So you got to have like redundant systems going on. Looking at these wildfires, the numbers and the death tolls risen. 17 dead, 2,000 homes destroyed in California wine country. Firefighters battling these wildfires in California's wine country. They're facing the prospect of new outbreaks where more dry, windy conditions are returning, sad to say, today to an area where at least 17 people have been killed, 2,000 homes, businesses destroyed in these blazes. And the gusts of wind just give you a little perspective. 50 miles an hour, 10% humidity. I mean, that's just lethal combination. And that forecast for later today and into Thursday for the region were 17 fires. That's what they're saying now. 17 fires forced 20,000 people to flee their homes. The potential for new fires could grow exponentially, as these fires did in such a short time, said Lynn Toffenshoff, a spokesperson for the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection. They say the weather gave firefighters a reprieve yesterday, as cooler temperatures, lower winds, and coastal fog allowed them to make some headway against the fires that had burned 115,000 acres. So some evacuations in Nevada, Yuba counties, and Western California were lifted yesterday, while other evacuations to the east in Sonoma and Napa counties, here's a number, 50,000 acres burned, were expanded. So some 155 people still missing. Believe it or not, 155 people in Sonoma County, although 45 others had been found, and some of those unaccounted for may be due, according to experts, confusion surrounding the evacuations. So the city of Santa Rosa was particularly hard hit by the so-called Tubes fire, which damaged a Hilton hotel and destroyed a mobile home park. And God, I hope this is not true. How do these wildfires start? They're not ruling out arson. They're not ruling it out. They're still trying to figure out, and they'll find out. These guys know what was used to deal with the accelerant. They'll know if this was natural from a lightning, and that would be sick. I mean, that's talk about Stephen Paddock. This is just everything that people owned, their houses, businesses, their livelihood. This is just breaks your heart here. Napa County, the dead included 100-year-old Charles Rippey and his wife, Sarah, 98, according to the county sheriff's office. The couple were married for 75 years. CBS affiliate in San Francisco reported, citing their son, Mike Charles. Rippey's body was found outside where her bedroom once stood. He was trying to get from his room to her room. Mike Rippey said he never made it. Even if he had gotten there, he wouldn't have been able to get her out, and there was no way he would have left. Napa Valley Ventures, a trade group, said it was too early to assess the economic impacts of the fires. At least 4 wineries had suffered total or very significant losses, and at least 9 reported damaged, according to the group. And the California governor, Jerry Brown, declared a state of emergency in several northern counties where fires burned and are burning. In Orange County in Southern California, where the so-called Cannon Fire is another name. Fire 2 destroyed 14 structures, damaged 22, and forced the evacuation of 5,000 people, according to the spokesman, Thine Nugent. You know, I've been thinking a lot about these fires and hurricanes and the shooting there in Vegas, but natural disasters or just disasters. And no, I'm not selling a book or anything like that, but it got me thinking, if I lost everything, I mean, my house, my business, everything, and I didn't have insurance. A lot of people don't. And even if you have insurance, it doesn't make you completely whole. And you can't get back pictures. You can't get back the precious photographs that you might have, keepsakes, things that you like, passed on from family members, generations. You know, they mean something, don't they? What would you do? A lot of these folks are wondering just that. In Texas, you know, where the hurricane wiped them out. In the islands, in Puerto Rico, I mean, literally have nothing left. Don't have money to rebuild, and FEMA dollars. It's amazing. They opened up the food lines. They're in Plant City down the road from me. I do the show from Tampa, Florida, if you didn't know. And the lines are for miles. People that lost food, you know, where their power went off and everything in their refrigerator or their freezer went bad, to try to get some of that back because people are living paycheck to paycheck. They don't have savings. Some people just readied at the storm and spent their last buck, couldn't even pay their rent because they were ready for the storm, buying what supplies they needed to be able to wade through this. And they're trying to get a little ahead. And so a lot of folks taking advantage of the programs offering food, trying to get something back. I mean, I don't blame them. I understand. I mean, and my only thought was, I haven't had to do that. Luckily, I have a business where I make some pretty good money. I don't make, millions of dollars or anything like that, but I do okay. But I just, I can't imagine what must be going through the minds of people all around me here in the city or in other cities across the country that must be really feeling some serious stress. A friend of mine was telling me because of stress, they have like stress balls in their back, in their neck. I've heard this, male and female. Yeah, they got to go to a chiropractor or a masseuse or somebody to try to rub them out. But stress does a lot of crazy things to people. Raises their blood pressure, for one, and that can be very dangerous when you just don't know what you're going to do. To me, I've thought about it. What I would do. Because I realized that insurance is not going to make me completely whole. If something happened, I tried to protect my studio best I could. I didn't want to pull everything out. I mean, if the water was going to come up that high on Kennedy, which many people told me it wouldn't, it might have the carpet soaked. So we took everything off the ground. But because the amount of wiring that's done, even though a lot of it's Cat 5 wiring, that's how they do the new digital consoles that talks to everything. It's still, I got hardwired mics. I got 4 of them, believe it or not, in the studio. It's just, I didn't want to disconnect everything. So I took my chances. And so many people did. But I thought, gosh, if the worst should hit the fan and I should lose everything, with all the equipment, can't get back on the air, can't do the broadcast. I have a mixer that I could get back on the air. I have a laptop. I have a microphone. I could make it work. I just wouldn't have all the fancy stuff that I have now. I mean, it could be done. But what if I didn't even have that and I lost it all? And I thought, okay, what skills do I have? Well, of course, I could be a laborer. I'm 47 years old. I mean, I could do that. But I've been in broadcasting. I've worked for ad agencies. I've been the voice of ABC News. I've done these things, and I have relationships with people all over the country. But if I couldn't get immediate work doing that kind of thing with my voice, I thought, I could do this voicemail on hold thing that I've done many of, for corporate Fortune 500 companies, and for just, pretty much no name, putting my voice on their company, because there's a lot of really bad companies out there that have terrible messages. And I say they're bad companies because they don't care about their image. So I would, bust out one of those $75. I could, 4 or 5 of those, a day I could probably do. And if people really strapped, for cash, I could do it for like, maybe 40 or $50, but I would be able to bring in some cash if I had to do it. I could write some scripts for people. They would sound like $1 million. People would want to do business with them. Perception's reality. And for whatever reason, I grew up in New York. And so when you're a broadcaster, it's almost like you're a built-in salesperson. You're confident in your product and what it can do. And so I'd use my head. My dad would used to say, you can't go wrong with what you know. And what you know is what you know. So no matter what happens, you're going to have to use your brain a little bit and be creative. TG Jakes? Yeah, he's got a new book out. It's called Soar. You should get it. Very inspirational, very thoughtful book. I've read a little bit of it, but it basically, the premise is what so many people are already doing, largely speaking, is having to recreate yourself. Renew yourself. Try something different. Get involved with something else. I mean, if something else is not working, maybe it's time for change in your life to do something else or add on to it so you can have multiple streams of income, that kind of thing. And I was listening to the interview of T.G. Jakes. He's really, he's a preacher, but he was talking about all the jobs that he did leading up to being the preacher of the Potter's House and being an author and all this stuff and just being recognized worldwide. He was a dishwasher. He was a shoe shine guy. He'd sell shoes to you. He worked as at the cash register. I mean, just a lot of jobs. Tyler Perry worked for Napa at the parts department. That's what he did. A lot of people started out